So I'm going to make this video twice, and one version is going to be me being unprepared and just recording without thinking about much what I'm going to say beforehand. And then the second version is going to be the one I make after, and I'm going to be more prepared. I'm going to make it later in the day, and I'm going to think about a lot more about what I'm going to say. So just for this version, I'm just going to speak on the top of my mind, and just whatever comes to me in the moment, and try my best to get the message or my message or what I want to try to get across the best way I can, without being much prepared. And it kind of goes along with this video, and I feel like I wanted to do this video a little differently just because of the title of the video and what the video is about, and that is about deja vu, and having memories locked away. And also talking about spider sense and premonition and intuition and gut feeling and all these things. And so, yeah, I guess how I'll start off is talking about deja vu. Deja vu is this feeling of, hey, this has happened before. And I feel like I am repeating or reliving the experience. And it's kind of surreal feeling. And it's almost like it's hard to describe like exactly what the emotions you feel, but it's just almost like memories have come back to you of the experience happening before it happens, but that has happened before, and you're just repeating it and reliving it, and maybe in a different way. But it's like it almost makes you step outside of yourself just a little bit, and just kind of like it kind of like throws you off, if the best way I can describe it. Where it's like, you could be going through your normal day, everyday life, and just doing maybe the same thing that you do every day, or just living your life, and maybe you're just going to get some ice cream or whatever it is, right? And then that sense of deja vu can just come in, even if you're doing something simple like getting an ice cream. And when that happens, it's like, wow, I'm just doing something normal like getting ice cream. I mean, you can be doing something exotic or a little extreme, but a lot of cases, or some cases, it's just you're doing something simple, or something simple is happening, and you just get that sense of deja vu. And so it's like, I'm just doing something normal, I'm just normally living my life, and I'm like taking almost outside of myself, and I'm just like, whoa, like what is this experience? And it's just like, when that happens, especially when you're doing something normal like getting ice cream, it's like it throws you off even more, because it's just like, I don't know, because the version of you that was just enjoying that ice cream, and getting that ice cream, and you're just enjoying it, and you're licking the ice cream cone or whatever, you're just in that moment fully, and you're enjoying the ice cream. But when that deja vu happens to you while you're getting ice cream, you're like, whoa, the ice cream is in your hand, but you're no longer like in the moment, fully in the moment enjoying the ice cream. You're just kind of like taking a step back for a moment, and you're just kind of like, I don't know, it's just it's a strange feeling. And so that's how I would understand the experience, or what the sense of deja vu is. And then you have other senses like this, or not like it, but that are different from this, but kind of go into that what you call it, not, I don't want to say sixth sense, but sensing something that we don't normally sense all the time. So and what I'll go into that's what I'll say about deja vu, and I'm sure I'll have more to say later on. But what I'll go into now is talking about spider sense, and going into Spider-Man, because Spider-Man actually has part of his superpowers, and him getting bit by the spider is him getting a spider sense, and that is his ability to sense danger before it happens. And that is sort of like a premonition or a bad gut feeling. Like, I got a bad gut feeling about this, or my intuition tells me not to go in that spooky room or go into that cave. And so, we kind of already have a spider sense with our intuition and our bad gut feeling, our premonition. And so, trying to get back in touch with that and, understand what that is. I feel like the best way we could do that is by eating mushrooms, and especially magic mushrooms, but all mushrooms. I feel like eating mushrooms helps us get in touch with our gut and our intuition, and helps us feel that premonition, the ability to sense danger before it happens, to be more ready and prepared for what's to come in the moment. Because those, in the video games, they call them quick action, I think. Timed action, quick time actions, where something happens to you in the game and it's not like, it doesn't prepare you immediately. I mean, I will give you a tutorial in the beginning. Hey, you're going to have certain events like these in your life or in this game that are going to require you to react quickly and make you take action quickly. And they're going to be timed events. And you're not going to know when it's coming. It's just going to come randomly. But when it does happen, be ready and be prepared to be able to take quick action in a short amount of time. I feel like we have those events in our life that requires us to be ready and prepared, even though we're not ready and prepared all the time, every day in our life. Especially if we're waking up, first thing waking up, or if we're didn't get much sleep last night, or if we're having a poor diet and we ate the best foods, or if we get some very sad news and just a lot of tragic events or unfortunate events happen to us. It can be hard for us to be fully alert and fully ready and fully prepared for any random event that might come to us, especially with us trying to deal with life already with how it is, and us trying to manage that and preparing for the things that we can't prepare, or not can't prepare for, but the things that we can't really see coming all the time, and the things that are unexpected, the unexpected events that happen to us, right? So I understand that it can be hard to prepare for things that you can't really see coming all the time. So, but like someone coming and robbing your house in the middle of the night, you have to be able to come out of your restful sleep, and even though you might have been snuggly and you just might have been having some sweet dreams, if someone broke into your house, you have to be able to snap out of that and grab the closest weapon that you have and be able to defend your house. And you have to prepare for that, be ready. Even though you were sleeping, you still have to be prepared and be ready for that unexpected event, for you to take quick action in a short amount of time. For when stuff like that, when someone breaks into your house, when stuff like that happens. So that's kind of what I mean. And like I said, taking care of our gut health and being healthy with our diet, learning to make cooking healthy food to be delicious, and eating more mushrooms, I feel like helps us, and I know helps us get in our intuition, get in touch with our intuition. It helps us understand our gut feeling and be more in touch with our gut feeling. And we should work on listening to our gut more too. So when our gut says, hey, we shouldn't go in that spooky cave, or when our gut says, hey, maybe I shouldn't eat that, or when our gut says, maybe I should do this instead of that, maybe we should listen to it. And we can get better at listening to our gut, and our gut can be much louder if we actually take care of our gut and be mindful of what we put in our stomach, because we are what we eat. And when I put terrible and garbage food in my stomach and in my body, I feel awful and terrible. And I already talked about giving into laziness, the sin of sloth, and then how I give into the sin of gluttony, and then how I give into the sin of lust. And it's usually in that order. Not all the time, but I just find that when I can get myself to be productive in cooking, and not be lazy, and actually take the time to cook a delicious, healthy meal for myself and take care of my gut health, I have less lustful thoughts, and I give in to lust less, and I give in to gluttony less, and then I give in to the sin of sloth less. So I'm still working on that. I'm not perfect in terms of staying away from sugar completely and all that stuff, but I'm still trying my best. And that's all we can do as human beings, and try to be better every day. But anyway, that's what I'm going to say about being ready for those quick time events. And then there's something else I want to talk about. Now, I don't have a specific word for it, but I think of Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man. When, Spider-Man already has his spider sense to be able to detect danger before it happens, and to be able to react with it, to his spider sense. But there was this moment where his lover, Gwen Stacy, was falling down this inside of a clock tower, and she was falling, and he tried to save her with his web, and he shot his web at her, and he tried to pull her from hitting the ground and try to save her life before she died. And he wasn't able to react quickly enough in that short amount of time, and he wasn't ready enough to be able to save her life. Even though he had the spider sense, even though he had the superpower, he wasn't prepared and ready enough, and it didn't react quickly enough in that short amount of time to be able to save her life. And in the new movie that came out a few years ago, Spider-Man No Way Home, he comes back, and something sort of like what happened before sort of happened again, but in a different way. And it's actually with Tom Holland's girlfriend, Zendaya, and I think they're married now, but she's playing MJ, and Tom Holland's Spider-Man wasn't there to save her, but he was. And this is him redeeming himself for not being quick enough and ready enough for last time. Now he's more prepared, older and wiser and more mature to be able to react differently. And instead of shooting his web, MJ, she wasn't falling from the inside of a clock tower, she was falling from a construction tower, so the Statue of Liberty. And so, as she was falling, Andrew Garfield jumped down to save her, and instead of shooting her his web to pull her from falling, he landed before her and caught her. And he reacted differently and quickly, and he was more ready and prepared for that event because he lived through it before, and he saw the consequences of him not being ready and prepared and quick enough. And he had to live with the consequences and the death of his lover because of him not being ready. And so he got to redeem himself and do it differently this time. And he was more ready, and he saved her life. And so you have moments like these in your life too, where you repeat the same experience but in a different way, and you might have messed up before, you might have not been ready before, but when something like that happens again, you can be more ready and more prepared to be able to react differently and have a different and hopefully better outcome than before. And so I will say this, the lesson to be learned from this, and what I take from this is always try to be alert and be ready and be prepared for anything that can happen, and just know that, in life, that you're more than likely probably going to have these quick time events that you're going to have to be ready for, and you're going to have to be quick on your feet. So just being mindful of that, and also try to get in touch with your intuition and gut feeling by being healthy and eating mushrooms. I feel like that would be a huge help, for trying to be more intuitive. So that's what I'll say for this version of the video, and I'll make a second version, probably saying that same thing, but I'll be much more prepared. So yeah. I also want to add this to the video of talking about having memories locked away, and when I'm talking about this, I want to talk about specifically the Maze Runner, and how Thomas had his memories locked away. Actually, all the people that were put inside the maze, they had their memories completely wiped, and the only thing that they could remember was their name. And Thomas eventually learned how to escape the maze, him and his friends, and he got out of the maze. But once he got out of the maze and escaped, he learned that he was actually one of the people that helped create the maze, and he was actually offered all of his memories back. And I think he declined and he denied his, the offer, and he didn't want his memories back because he didn't want to, he didn't want to know, and he wanted to keep living his life. Because why would you want your memories back? Why would you want to remember your old life when there's a chance that it could completely change the life that you're living now? So, he built this new life for himself, escaping the maze and, his new memories, and he chose not to get his old memories back. And I was thinking, yeah, because it will probably completely change how he live his life now. Like, why would he want them back? Because if he got his memories back, would he want to keep being the same person? Would he want to keep living his same life? Maybe he'll just completely change because he got his old memories back. So I don't know if this is why he completely did it, but he chose not to get his old memories back. And because once you escape the maze and you're out of it, why would you want the maze? Wouldn't it be best not to have the maze on your mind anymore? And that's what I was thinking. And so, but I was also thinking, okay, so what if he found out, and he did find this out because they were doing this multiple times. What if he found out they were running this psychological maze experiment on other people? And wouldn't you want to go back and help those other people escape? Like how you escape, when you want to teach other people how to escape. And I was like, well, you wouldn't need to know how the maze is created, you just need to know how to escape. And that's all you need to know. And so by knowing how to escape, you can help other people escape, and you don't need to know how the maze was created. So he does not need his own memories back in order to help other people escape the maze. And so that's what I was taking away from having his memories locked away and being offered having your memories back. And so I wouldn't want my memories back of how the maze was created. I just want to know how to escape the maze and how to teach other people how to escape the maze. That's all I need to know. I don't need to know how the maze was created, and I don't need to have my old memories back, because they might completely change the life that I'm living now and change who I am. So I wouldn't want that. So I would probably refuse. Now unless something like that happens to me, I don't know what I would fully do, but I would say I would probably refuse having my own memories back, just because that they might change who I am now and the life that I'm living now. So I'll probably choose not to remember. So yeah. So this is going to be my second version of the Deja Vu video, and I want to start this one off with expect the unexpected. Okay, now in the first version of the video, I talked about what Deja Vu is, and having memories locked away from you, and being able to the feeling of like this has happened before and like a repeated experience, and talking about spider sense and talking about premonition and getting into our getting back in touch with our intuition and our gut feeling. But yeah, I was talking about intuition and how we could get in touch with our intuition and our gut feeling by eating mushrooms. But for this video, I want to talk about, or this version, I went over that, but for this version I want to talk about something that's happened to me. Expect the unexpected. So when I was walking back to my house from work, I took a different path this time. I wanted to try something different. So I took a different path, and when I took a different path, usually, I was walking past someone's driveway, and usually, they started their car, and when I'm walking past someone's driveway and they just started their car, they start rolling back immediately or rolling forward. Usually back, but they start rolling towards me as I'm walking by, and they just started the car, and they're not really aware that I'm walking by. But usually I kind of stop myself, or just walk really fast or something, because they don't see me. But this time, I'm walking by, and I'm like, oh, they started their car, and I already know what's gonna happen. They're gonna start rolling back towards me, and I'm probably either gonna have to stop, let them go by, or go really fast past their driveway. But this time, when I was expecting something to happen, because it's usually always happened in the past, multiple times, it didn't happen. The unexpected happened. So it's like sometimes we can get in the habit of expecting something to happen because it's usually happened a lot before in the past, but we can be, our expectations can be just completely blown away, and the unexpected happens. And so it can be hard for us to try to predict. Even though we've seen it happen before multiple times in the past, it's still hard to predict what's going to happen in the future. Just because we've seen it happen before in the past, the unexpected can still happen. So that's what I'll say, what I've learned just from that walk of taking a different path, which I find interesting. But that's what I'll say about expect the unexpected. And then I also say, I was thinking about on my walk to work this morning, I was thinking about what is control, and why people have control issues. And the theory that I came up with is people who have control issues have they can't control themselves, right? And so since they can't control themselves, they want to control other people. And some of these people who can't control themselves and want to control other people and having control issues, they try to pretend to be the person that they used to be in the past so that other people don't know who they are in the present moment. And so and that's kind of almost scary to think about, like that some of the people that you're talking about they have lost control of themselves, and they're just pretending to be the person that they used to be, which is scary. But that's how some people are. And I'm trying my best to understand how to help people who have control issues. And the best way I could think of is when I think of what is control and having control issues, I think if you don't have control over yourself, or what does it mean to have control over yourself? And my theory and my answer was to be able to not fall into temptation, to be strong and resist, or I just say not fall into temptation of sin. And so having control of yourself is to be able to not fall into temptation of sin. And if you're someone that is always tempted by sin and giving into that temptation of sin, it is very hard for you to have control over yourself. And you might even find yourself having control issues and wanting to control other people because you can't control yourself. And then also trying to pretend to be the person you used to be, the person that might have had more control over himself in the past, just because you don't want people to see the real you and who you are in the present moment. So it's some manipulation going on there, but that's what I'll say about control. And I also was thinking of talking about déjà vu and experiencing experiencing the same experience that we've had before, but in a different way, or feeling like we've done this before, like this has happened before. And also thinking about control. I was thinking of this game that I used to play when I was a kid, and it was a Wizards of Waverly Place game. And it was a game where you could control two people, but they're at different places. And you have, you control them at the same time, but they're in completely two different locations. So, yes, you move forward and both of the characters move forward, but one character might bump into a wall and the other one, keeps going forward. And then you might have where, you try to turn right and, both of the characters turn right, but maybe a wall blocks one of the characters from turning right and the other character keeps going right. And so I remember this game, and it was so trippy because you were trying, I think it was like a maze, or you were trying to get both characters to be able to complete an objective or maybe escape. And it was very hard because you could help one character, if you move, when you move, both of the characters move, but they're in different places. And so even though you move them and control them at the same time, you have to keep aware and stay aware of both of their environments and how different they are, how the different places are, and understanding the differences between the two places that they're at, and understanding the differences of their environment, so that way you can have more understanding on how to control both of these people and be able to still complete the objective that you need to complete, and still be able to escape and help these characters escape and win the game. So it was something trippy like that. I think I did described it well, but I feel like there's probably more to it that I'm not remembering. But there's that game, okay? And then I was also thinking of another game. I just thought of this recently, but I was thinking of a Mario Kart game where you race 2 times, right? And the first time you just do a normal race by yourself, And then the second time you race, you're actually racing against the ghost version of you from the first time. So you're racing against yourself the second time. And I find that interesting too. I don't know what kind of mode it was on Mario Kart, but you do a race twice, but the second time you race the ghost version of you from the first time, and that's trippy to think about too, especially me talking about control and then deja vu and all that stuff. And yeah, that's what I'll say about the Mario Kart. I also keep thinking about the Wizards or Waverly Place is you're trying to control two people at the same time, but they're in different places, and trying to help them escape and complete their objective at the same time. I find that very trippy and confusing, and it's because it's like you want to focus on one character and help them, but you can but when you're controlling one character, you're also controlling another character. So you could even though you're probably helping one character escape and get out, maybe you're hoping the other character, or maybe the other character is getting more stuck and more lost and more confused, and you're messing up the other character. And so you have to find the best way for both of them and find a creative way to help both of them and control both of them, where they both get, both of them are able to still complete the objective and escape the place, even though it might be harder, or it might, you want to stay focused on one of them. You have to learn how to focus on both of them at the same time and helping both of them. And that's just so trippy to think about, and I need to think about that a little bit more, but I just kind of wanted to talk about that concept and that idea because I feel like it goes along with the video. So and so that's what I'll say, and me trying to understand control. About people who used to pretend to be the person that they used to be, and then going into what is control again. There was an incident where I was in love with a woman, and we had a lot of spiritual conversations, okay? And it was deep conversations, and it was personal between me and her. And she had a boyfriend though, and her boyfriend wasn't able to have those conversations like me and her. And I know he was getting jealous. I don't know for sure, but he was acting jealous from my perspective. And he told me that he can't have those conversations like me and her with her. And I was like, well, I mean, it's that he's not me and he's not her. And those are conversations that are just meant for me and her. And he shouldn't try to get in the way of that, because that was just me and her trying to be friends and enjoy talking to each other. But he was always kind of like, look at me, I want the attention too, kind of, attitude. But I feel like he was getting so jealous of me and her conversations, of our spiritual conversations, that he tried to pretend to be spiritual. And maybe he had some kind of spirituality when he was younger, but the way he was coming off was, first of all, I had asked to talk to Katie and see her, and he threatened murder to me, okay? So after he did that, I started not to like him, and not like, but he was my friend, but I started not to view him as my friend, because he threatened murder to me. And so he did that, but he also uses his crying as a weapon, to get what he wants, or to trick other people or manipulate other people, because he was someone that, when his girlfriend would leave him alone for just a few days, he would start saying that he's gonna kill himself and commit suicide. And he even, took a whole bunch of pills one time, and I had to call the ambulance on him to, try to save his life, to stop him from, trying to commit suicide. But I feel like he was, now I don't know this for sure, but usually people who are suicidal, they don't talk about, their suicidal thoughts. They keep it to themselves, and they keep it quiet, and they don't talk about it, okay? He was someone very vocal. I feel like he was almost using that as a weapon to get what he wants, to get, he's basically saying, if she doesn't come to me and I don't see her again, then I'm going to commit suicide. and basically using that as a maneuver or a way to get her to feel bad, to get her to come to him so he doesn't commit suicide. So using suicide and his crying as a weapon. And so that's what I'll say about him, or about, him trying to say, talk about him committing suicide. But and I took his word for it, and I called the ambulance because I did not want him to do that, because I don't want anybody to take their life. I don't want, because I had it, talked about my experience, being suicidal, but I don't want people to do that. And so I take it serious, and I try to take it serious. But when he did that, it just made me very upset, because part of me felt like he was just doing that so that he could get Katie to, come back to him. And I don't want to, I revealed her name, but that's what her name is. She's on my book. She's the co-author of my book. And I talked about the relationship in my book, but I felt like not only was he pretending to be the person that he used to be, and also using his crying as a weapon, and also using, trying to, claim that he's going to commit suicide as a false, what's the word? Don't want to say it's completely he was false and lying about his suicidal, tendencies, but I feel like he was just using that to get what he wants. He wasn't actually suicidal. I don't know for sure, but that's what it kind of felt like to me. And like I said, using his crying as a weapon. Yeah, I felt like he was getting jealous of mine and Katie's spiritual conversations, and he wasn't, usually the most spiritual person. And I feel like he tried to pretend to have spiritual conversations and to pretend to be spiritual, just because of jealousy and the fear of Katie leaving him. And so his spiritual conversations were running on jealousy and the fear of Katie leaving him. And he was trying to put fear in me and scare me away, by, when I told him that, I talked about this in a private video, but, I was cutting myself, and I felt like I couldn't be alone with myself. And I told him this. I said, I need someone to talk to, someone to be with. And he came in my room after I told him this. He came in my room and wrote in Latin and wrote, "Learn how to play." After I told him, and he said to sit in my room and learn how to play. After I told him I couldn't sit in my room, I couldn't be by myself, I needed to be with someone. And I told him that, and he told me to sit in my room and learn how to play. After I told him I was cutting myself. So it's like, what kind of friend does that? Especially, him trying to pretend to be spiritual when he's not. And like I said, him pretending to be spiritual is running on jealousy and the fear of Katie losing him. So he's not really on anything. And he just talk. And, it took me a while to learn that, because, he kind of scared me when he did that. And, he threatened murder to me, because it's like, I've seen him talk about murder before. And so I don't know what this guy's capable of. So I don't know if this guy would actually try to take my life. And him doing that after I told him I was cutting myself and I needed a friend to be with, and him telling me to sit in my room and learn how to play and writing in Latin, that's, trying to put fear in me and trying to scare me. And that is foul play. And it's hard for me to get over it, but I'm trying to forgive him, and I want to help him. But he has control issues. He's pretending to be the person that he used to be in the past. And he's trying to pretend to be spiritual, just to have, spiritual conversations with Katie, to get Katie more into him. Because he also doesn't want to work a job, and he doesn't, he has a kid, he has a son, and he doesn't want to be a provider. He wants other people to take care of him. He doesn't want to work a job. And he has his own son, and he doesn't want to be a provider for his son or for his woman, because his woman has money coming in, but he uses that money to help him survive and eat. And so he's not trying to, I don't think he's trying to marry Katie. I don't think he's trying to have kids with her, because he's not even taking care of his own kid. And so it's like, and I don't even think he's trying to, but it's just, he's not trying to build a career, and I don't think that he's trying to be a provider for anybody. And he wants people to provide for him. and he wants to keep being a kid and want people to take care of him and not wanting to take care of his own kid. And so it's hard for me to like him, knowing all this about him and knowing what he's done to me before in the past. But I still want to try to help him, and I still want to forgive him, and I forgive him for what he's done. But he has to want my help. And also, I want him to be able to let me. I'm not asking Katie to completely leave him, or asking him to break up with Katie, or trying to break them up anymore. Maybe I was in the past, but I just want to be friends with Katie. I just want conversations with her and to be able to talk to her and be her friend. But I don't want him getting jealous and trying to get in the way, because I'm still trying, even though I want to marry Katie and I want to have kids with her. And she's the only woman I actually want to marry. But I still want to find out if men and women can be friends. And I don't want to try to break them apart anymore. I just want to be friends with her without him getting in the way. I'm not asking them to break up. I'm not asking them to separate and she has to leave him for me. No, I still want to talk to her. I still want to have conversations with her. I just don't want him trying to put fear in me, and don't want him, trying to get in the way and try to pretend to have conversations and pretend spiritual conversations and pretend to be spiritual, and just don't want him to use his crying as a weapon. And I don't want him trying to scare me and put fear in me and also threaten to murder me. I don't want him doing that. That is like so low behavior. And I understand that he's kind of in a survival bind, and he wants Katie. He's jealous and he's scared that Katie's gonna leave him, and he does not want Katie to leave him. So he's running on fear too, even though he's trying to put fear in me. That is him running on, him trying to put fear on me comes from him being in fear and the fear of Katie losing him. And so that's where that comes from. So him trying to scare me is only because he's actually scared. So yeah, I want to help him, even though he's complicated and it's a tough issue, and he's going to have a high ego, and he's going to get angry and try to manipulate, and I don't want to say assume what he's going to do. I just want to try to help him, and I want to try my best to not let his ego get in the way. But he has to be able to not let his ego get in the way and accept my help. And if he doesn't want my help and refuses my help and lets his ego get in the way, there's not much I can do. I can't force help on him. I can't force him to take my help. I just want him to know that I do want to help him. I want to help him, or have control over himself, and help him with his control issues, and help him stop using his crying as a weapon, and help him be a provider for his son and get a job. And I've tried to help him get a job in the past before, but he wasn't really going for it, and I don't think he was taking me serious in the past. But do want to help him as long as he wants my help, and you can only help those that want to be helped. So yeah, that's what I'll say for this video.